And this means being a servant to others just like Jesus was. In our gospel today, we hear Peter and the other disciples are looking for Jesus. Just the other day before, they had witnessed all these incredible things happen. Peter's mother-in-law was cured. He was exorcising demons. Jesus was curing the sick. His preaching was incredible, and all these wonderful miracles were happening. So they were probably very excited about what had just taken place that day before. And when they woke up in the morning, there's a crowd asking for Jesus. That same crowd who would have witnessed all these miraculous things. And they're searching for Jesus. So they begin this search and they find him alone and in prayer. And they tell him, everyone is looking for you. And they're surprised by Jesus' response. He tells them it's time to move on. His mission is to preach to all of Israel, not just some people. His mission is not to become the most popular person. He's not a political figure trying to climb the ladder of success. No, he reminds his disciples and he reminds us that he is a servant and a messenger for others. Our world idolizes success and achievement. You do whatever you can to be on top, to be number one, even if you have to be selfish. That's what the world teaches. But as disciples of Jesus, we have to follow his example and not the world's. He shows us that his self-giving attitude throughout the gospel. He shows it throughout history in the example of the saints. But he also shows it by working through us, even though we aren't saints, not yet. He shows it. One successful Hollywood actor is Eduardo Verástegui. And he had been away from his Catholic faith. He had this reconversion where he came back and was dedicated to his Catholic faith. And he decided, as part of this conversion that he had, that he was only going to be involved in movies that promoted positive and true values. And one of those movies was Bella, and this movie is about an unmarried woman who's deciding whether or not she's going to have an abortion. And in order to do research for this project, he decided he was going to go to an abortion clinic and just observe a pro-life prayer group that is there interacting with different people who are coming in and out of the clinic. He wasn't getting involved, he was just going to observe and watch what they did. But then there was a couple that came, and they only spoke Spanish. But no one in the group could speak Spanish, so they asked Eduardo, "Can you please talk to them and speak to them?" And he was nervous and he wasn't sure what to say, but he took it upon himself and he went and he had this conversation with this couple. And they ended up canceling their appointment. And several months later, he got a phone call from this couple saying that they had a baby boy that was born healthy. And they asked to name him after him because it was because of him that they decided not to go through with it. And he was so moved by this. Eduardo decided to live out his Catholic faith, following Christ's example of being a messenger and a servant to others. We are called to be a part of this mission as well. And if we're going to be good Christians, we need to be missionaries. We need to go out and to be sent out into the world. So if we're going to be good Christians, we have to be a people of prayer and action. We need to stay close to Jesus through that prayer and through the sacraments. But prayer is only half of it. The other half of being a good Christian is action. We need to be actively spreading the gospel to those around us. So how do we do this? By our example, by our word, and by our deeds. So first, by our example, how we live our everyday lives. Are we treating others with respect, kindness, and patience? Are we fulfilling our responsibilities attentively and lovingly? The second way is by our words. There are times when someone in our lives needs to hear about Jesus and his message of salvation. That might be a family member, a spouse, maybe a coworker, but even a stranger. We should always be ready to meet that need, sharing with them the knowledge that God has given us and giving them that hope. The third way is by our deeds, developing and using our God-given talents to help others.